ये बड़ा दिखना चाहिए। ये स्क्रीन दिख रहा होता, हमें ये स्क्रीन क्या करना है समझ नहीं हो गया। ये वाला भी मैं स्टार्ट करूँगा। Good evening. Can you all hear me? So just give me a good evening or a hi if you can hear me. Excellent. So today we are going to take up, the editorial articles from a newspaper, and we are going to treat it as a potential Clat passage or as a potential exam passage that you can get. So we will see how to read it, how to reach a central idea, what are the points that you have to pay attention to, what are the analogies that you can find there, word meanings. So whole gamut of questions. Gamut means a whole group of questions that can come from one short editorial passage. How to make sense of it, what are the things that I can ignore in the passage and still make sense of the whole passage. So today we are going to spend time on one or two of these editorial articles. Right, so if you allow me to share my screen, I will take you straight away to the passage. Meanwhile, in a newspaper reading format, we could take up a newspaper reading session as to what parts to read in the newspaper, what parts to skip. But I want to focus on the editorial page alone because I think the front page of the newspaper, in fact, if you go to previous videos on our YouTube channel, I have taken a whole lecture on how to read a newspaper. Maybe just hunt it down. So there I've spoken about front page, business news, editorial, what portions to skip, what is the topic sentence. I've done all of that. Today I will focus mainly on the editorial section. Right. So I'm going to take you to the passage and then discuss this. So can you all see my screen? I've shared my screen with all of you. Can you all see my screen? So the first passage that we will take up today, if you see, is this. So this is the heading for the first passage. Unity and diversity, our obsession with diversity misses the point. Right? Now, this is an editorial article. So if we come down, so let's start reading from here. And once you have reached until the USSR, you tell me, and then I'm going to push the screen further. So let's read this. I'll give you a couple of minutes to read this smudge, and then I'm going to push the screen up. And then I'm going to show you what all you have read. So when you finish this much, give me a thumbs up. I'm going to move up. Yes, have you read so much? Should we move up? Okay, this is the next paragraph. Starting with come to think of it. Okay, I think you've read this paragraph. Right, small paragraph on the Chinese. Then the nation is, after all, a small paragraph here. So now we are on this paragraph. All right. Now we begin with British anthropologist Robin Dunbar. Okay, I'm moving further ahead. And this is the last paragraph. All those who have finished reading the last paragraph until here, say yes in the chat box. All those who have finished reading, say yes in the chat box. So I've got a yes from Santosh Natarajan. Hasika Sindhuja. Ayushi. Great. So let me go back and quickly take you through the passage and what you all have read. Okay? Now, how many of you, while reading each paragraph, make a short note here on what the paragraph is saying? For example, the first paragraph talks about diversity across the globe. The first paragraph talks about diversity across. right? So I do not know how many of you are in the habit of doing this, but when you read, if you're reading a longish passage or if you're reading a huge editorial in a newspaper, many of you are very fond of reading the Hindu, etc. They have huge editorials. So by the time you move from one panel to the next, do you have a sense of forgetting what you read in the previous panel? Panel means, the newspaper is like this. Do you have a sense of forgetting what you read on the previous panel? If I look at a regular newspaper, it's given in columns. So a good idea is to just write down the keywords against the paragraph. So the first paragraph talks about, the obsession with diversity that is haunting India. And here it talks about diversity in the world. And it continues to do so here. So the two paragraphs are just talking about diversity across the globe. This is what these two paragraphs are doing. So when you read this, you ask yourself, okay, what is it that the author is trying to tell me? In the first paragraph, it talks about diversity across the globe, right? And the author makes one statement here: diversity or its absence is not a problem. The problem is the absence of a national will. And what else is the problem? This is problem one. And the second problem is a belief that some people do not belong here. So when you read these two things, you understand that this is coming from a place where the author feels that in the country we need this type of an article. So this article or any editorial article, number one, is a reaction to something that is happening in the country or something that is happening across the globe. So if the other editorial article, if we get time today, that we will explore is on the Assam floods. So editorial articles are never written in isolation. Rule number one, the editorial article stems from some pre-existing thing or condition that is happening. So when you're reading an editorial article, it is understood by you that, yes, I know what this is reacting to. So this article is reacting to the lack of or the belief that some people are spreading, whereas that, some people are foreigners in the country, they don't belong. This country belongs to only the majority, all that. The little pockets of violence that are happening in the country, religious fighting. So the author, right from the first paragraph, has stated here that diversity is not a problem. Problem is either the nation is not together to respect it, or the belief that some people have that other people do not belong here. Again, the author goes back to the diversity across the globe and talks about France and Germany. So now, if we talk about speed reading, for example, so when I come to para 2, again, I see France and Napoleon and, all this data, I quickly read it. My eyes go over it quickly. This data I can come back to if there are questions on it, right? And I pay attention to these two lines in the first paragraph. So if some of you have done the Clat Possible RC preview sheet, you will notice that in RC previewing, we teach you portions that you have to read properly and portions that you can quickly skim. So what are the things that you quickly skim? The things that you quickly skim are data-based lines. Okay, in France, this happened. In this country, 75 languages are spoken. So you skim over that. So here we start skimming. Even the USSR is diverse. So all this we skim. So if I go down, now we come to China. So lots of data on China is given. Again, I can skim it. It explains the diversity that is there even in China. And the author includes China as a special case because the author says many Indians do not know this, that China has over 20 minor religions and so many other, the variety that China has. And now the author makes a point which we will focus on. So I'm skimming. Okay, it's talking about China. It's talking about, the scholars have written this, skim. Then why is author spending so much time on China? Because the author feels that Indians don't know. Then I stop and read this properly. So while Chinese was strengthening the nation, India went the other way, highlighting divisions rather than what held the people together. So in this case, so this paragraph, my notes say that it's on China, diversity in China, and here the author creates a difference between India and China. Here the author creates a difference between India and China. If you are with me so far and you agree with what I have written here, give me a nice emoji, give me a smiley, give me flowers. Thumbs up is very boring. Quickly. Okay, so I've got a smiley from Ayushi. Thank you so much. Others. Hasika, thank you so much. Amir Krishna, Sindhuja, thank you. So that means you agree with me, right? Santosh, is that a dance step? Thank you. Thank you, Ritika. Aarti. I don't know, what is that, Santosh? Is that a dancing step? I hope that is what I think that is. So here the author talks about what India is doing. So now from the first paragraph, where the author says diversity is not the problem is believing that people don't belong, until here, where the author says that while China was uniting, we were dividing. Now you get closer to the central theme. That means the author is trying to point out why diversity is really not working for us, or what do we need to do. So far we are dwelling on history, right? Let's go further and then see whether the author offers solutions or continues to talk about more such divisions. Now, if you see, the author spends time on nation. Now the author comes to the bigger unit after examples. So far we are dealing with examples with particular attention to one example of China and how we are different from China. Now this paragraph talks about what is the meaning of nation or nation state, right? So the author says that basically nation is an inchoate entity. Can someone tell me the meaning of inchoate? Please note that vocabulary in the passages is also a part of your preparation. What is the meaning of inchoate? Quickly, inchoate. Okay, so new. Amir Krishna says new. Give me a better answer. New, okay. Just started. Okay, Ritika, that's better. Not complete, Santosh, that's also good. So I'll give you the best answer for inchoate, which is rudimentary. Rudimentary means underdeveloped. So you could say new, not complete. You could say, not fully democratic. Okay, Santosh Natarajan, that's all right. Just begun, not fully formed or developed. Ayushi, that's correct. So another synonym for inchoate is rudimentary. Rudimentary. Right? So the nation is rudimentary. There is nothing natural about it. It is just a piece of social engineering held together by laws. Okay, so the author is describing the nation to us, talking about what a nation is, you know, and hence nation requires constant reinforcement. So what is the point that the author is making? Why is the author talking about the nation? So the answer starts from here. It says that left to themselves without this set of laws, human beings will not synergize. So the author is constantly enforcing the need for laws, the need for a national will for human beings to be united. Right? So the author explains it's not as if a nation is a natural thing and we are just going to love our brother, our our co-patriots. That's not true. We need laws and we need set of rules to hold us together. And the author dwells more on this point in the next paragraph and comes to some data from anthropologists. Can you see the anthropologists? That at best we can unite with only 150 individuals. Right? Therefore, it is the institutions of the nation state that enable people to reach beyond their natural limitations. So this is why the author is dwelling on the nation state formation. Because left to us, we will not unite beyond 100, 150 people. Hence, this allows us to synchronize, cooperate, make groups. So here, importance of nation state and laws. This is what the author says. And the author says, most importantly, so something that begins with most importantly, I'm going to focus and read it. Most importantly, we have to, the laws give us protection, help us go beyond our small groups, and we risk great danger if we dilute the laws by privileging narrower identities. So the author feels laws should be above our religious or other racial identities. Right? So here the author is making the most point. So this is something that we underline. If you remember the RC preview sheet, we underline the important things. So anything that begins with most importantly, I'm going to underline it. Right? And then the author says that India has thrived so far in spite of so many problems, and we value the benefits that flow from being part of a bigger collectivity more than narrow groups based on caste, religion, language, or region. So here the author spends time on focusing that we have done it in the past and we will do it now as well. So now we have read the whole passage. What do you think is the central idea of this passage? What do you think is the central idea of this passage? We began by talking about the haunting with diversity. We spoke about other countries that were diverse, especially China, and what China did, which we were not doing as well. And the fact that we were going the other way. So there was caution. Then the author stressed on the importance of living as a nation rather than living as a small group of identities. To explain this, the author used the example of some anthropologists and the concept of a nation state. So now you have the whole picture, you have all my side notes. This is something that I insist all of you should also do. make these little notes on the side so that you can see these notes and then decide, okay, what is it that the author is trying to tell me? So the questions you ask yourself: why is the author talking about diversity of other countries? Why is the author comparing us with China? Why is the author saying that we cannot dilute the nation? So ask yourself, what is the author's bigger point? This is how you come to a central idea. So give me the central idea in the chat box quickly. All right. So Chahat Jain says what we can improve from the models of other countries. So Chahat, use the keywords. What improvement? Use the keyword diversity. Use the keywords. People should have faith in national and national institutions and live in unison, denying to divide. That is Udit Rajveer. All right, good. All right, other answers? So Udit Rajveer, your answer is pretty good. Anyone else? What is the central idea of this passage? All right. So the central idea of this passage, which I'm going to write here, is, all right, so that's better. Chahat, people should stay together. Unity in diversity. That's the title, Santosh Natarajan, Unity in Diversity. So you know that other than central idea, we also get title questions. So yours answer would be a great title question. Your answer would be a great title question. Your answer would be a great title answer, right? So the central idea, of course, should be somewhere on the lines of India should be a part of it. India is going to be a part of it, needs to uphold national identity over all others, for, let's use Santosh Natarajan's answer, unity in diversity. Something like this, or nation state, India, a title like India as a nation state and diversity. So these will be the keywords for the title and the central idea of the passage. Now, we did a word meaning from here, inchoate. I give you the answer for inchoate. My next question, what are the other questions that we can get from here? My next question here would be, what is the role played by China? What is the role played by China in the entire passage? All right. So how is China's example helping us lead to the central theme? So if this passage were given in the critical reasoning format, your question would be, what is the role played by China in the passage? So a role played answer means, how is China helping us reach the central idea? So quickly give me those answers. Role played by China in the passage. Okay, Udit, that's a correct answer. Contrast between Indian and Chinese approach to tackle diversity. Okay, that's good. So what is the role played by China? China is serving to be, let me give you a better word for this. China is the analogous example. China is the analogous example. So Aarti, that's not the answer. China is also diverse. We have been told China is diverse, but why? What is the role played by China? So China is the analogous example that the author uses to support the main point, which is that if all these countries can be diverse, then India should also work towards diversity. Right? Now, the author says that unbeknownst to India, okay, give me the meaning of unbeknownst. Let me show that to you again. Can you see this line here? So the author's sub-conclusion over here is that India went the other way, highlighting divisions rather than what held people together. So if this were a CR passage, and we've asked you to weaken the argument made that China has, in spite of having 20 minor religions and 13 mutually unintelligible languages, it has done better, right? So if I have to weaken this argument of the author that India is not doing enough, how will I weaken it? That China managed 20 minor religions and 13 mutually unintelligible languages and has still united, whereas India has gone the other way. How will I weaken this argument of the author? So I'm just showing you the points where you get questions from. So when you are reading the article next time, you know, okay, this could be a potential question. So yes, unbeknownst is unaware. Ritika Jain, that's a correct answer. So let's weaken this. Any answers? but China is not democratic in practical words. Okay. So I do not think democracy is a key word here, Santosh Natarajan. The key word here is diverse and unity in diversity. So India is democratic, that's better. China is not democratic. So let's do a better job. Okay, Sindhuja, that's correct. That's decent. All right, Udit. So, there is no one way to weaken it. With Santosh's answer, which is about democracy, we would have had to bring in another concept of democracy in order to make it a strong, weaken answer. A better answer is there with Sindhuja that, of course, all the talks about unity, fine, but there are other concerns. Udit Rajveer, again has highlighted the human rights concern. So both Sindhuja and Udit have done that, which is decent as a weaken answer. A better weaken answer would be to use the same concept of diversity and show that it's not true that India has done nothing, and to show that the data provided by the author about 20 religions and 13 mutually unintelligible languages is not such a great data. So the best way to weaken is to attack the data. Do you understand this? The best way to weaken is to attack the data and to show better data on the same central theme. That means since the central theme over here is on diversity, let's stick to that. Right? Of course, you did bring in democracy as a point, and the other two of you, Udit and Sindhuja, brought in, what do you call it, human right concerns as a point. Okay, fine. You're bringing in newer concepts to weaken, which is pretty all right. It's using something to weaken it, but a best answer would be to stick to the topic on hand and use that data against them. Yes, so Santosh, that's correct. So we say that while China has 20 minor religions, we probably bring in more data and show that India has got, XYZ major religions. And India is not just divided with languages, it is divided with probably, 100 types of different cultural practices. Cultural practices, so much so that two states in India could very well be two different countries. And still India has moved ahead as one country, united with common passions. It could be sports, it could be various other things. It could be cinema, it could be sports. So best would be to show that, okay, while China has done a good job with 20 other religions and 13 different languages, we have, to the best of my knowledge, more than 300 types of dialects and languages in this country. So the difference between China and India is, is too much, and not to mention cultural differences between different states, where a different state could just very well be a different country for us. So uniting such diversity requires hardships, and still we have done a better job than most other countries. So do you understand how we would weaken it? The best way to weaken is to attack the data and bring in better data to support the other side. If you understand this, give me a thumbs up in the chat box. Great. Then we come to, why has the author mentioned Robin Dunbar? So these are potential question points that you get. Why has the author mentioned Robin Dunbar and, other Rick Schenkman? Again, the mention of any expert is only made to strengthen the point that the author is trying to make. So Robin Dunbar and Rick Schenkman, they have been mentioned to strengthen the point of the author, the appeal of the author to, respect this diversity and to not highlight smaller groups and identities, but to work on a national identity, right? So these two people are mentioned to highlight the importance of moving out of small groups and working together as the nation state. Have you got it? So these people tell us that we have an inclination of primordial bonds. So why is anyone mentioned or any expert mentioned? All experts are mentioned only to support the central theme of the author. So any answer which talks about the support of the central theme or mentions the central theme that these two people give the importance of maintaining a nation state and laws above personal identities. So this is why these two people are there. Right? How has the author ended it? What is the tone of the last paragraph? So this is the next question that could be asked here. What is the tone of the last paragraph? So all through, the author has appealed to the better senses of the people. So what is the tone of the last paragraph? Over the last few papers, you'll notice tone questions, tone in the last paragraph or a particular paragraph is given. Okay, thank you, Santosh, for those statistics. Yes, so that's a correct answer. Yes, Sindhuja, that's a correct answer. So I've got correct answers right in the first two attempts. So the last paragraph tone is, no, Ritika Jain, it's not appreciative, it is optimistic. That's correct. Do you see that the author says that India has been, there are so many predictions over the years that we are going to die and we are going to do this and we'll never be this united nation, but we have survived, we have thrived. So the author shows hope for the future, right? So the best tone here is optimistic, which was given by Udit and Sindhuja. The tone of the last paragraph is optimistic. So we have a theme question, we have a tone question, we've done some CR questions on weekend. So these are the points where you will be asked. And the takeaway from today's session is, while you're reading these long, editorials, you must make short notes after every paragraph and then view your short notes and see what is the central idea. In fact, you can do it in your RCs as well. Once you start practicing RCs from the purple book, you can do that as well in the RCs. As you read past paragraphs or as you read some portions, you just scribble short notes on the side. This will definitely help you come to a good central idea. And remember, practice makes you perfect. It is a very cliched saying, but the more you do this, initially you may not know what notes to scribble, but eventually as you keep doing it, you will scribble these notes on the side and try to come out with a central idea. You can bring the passages from the newspapers that you have read to class, to the English class. You can, after class, show it to your English teacher and ask him or her whether whether your central idea is correct or not. So involve other friends, discuss with them whether they feel this is the central idea, and make it a nice group activity. And of course, involve your teachers at Clat Possible. Right? Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoyed this little editorial discussion today. I will be back next week with a new editorial. Please do tell me in the chat box whether you would like such editorial discussions, one or two passages. We may probably move faster now that we know what we are doing here and take up 2 passages instead of 1. So I would definitely like to hear from you in the chat box whether you would want us to continue such discussions of editorial articles on a weekly basis. Please do tell me. So do say that in the chat box. Would you like us to discuss more of these and make it a weekly thing? Great. So I'll see you next week then.